very warm welcome to Psychology Talks. I'm your host Amreen Nadeem, and today's topic is sales, psychology of sales. The success of every business is evaluated through the profit it generates in a year, which is directly reflected through the effectiveness of the sales team. Selling products or service is not easy, especially in a highly competitive market where everybody is offering almost a similar type of products and services. Here comes the importance of psychology of sales. It includes the understanding of the psyche of your target market to sell your products and services effectively. Instead of convincing customers, you need to sell the products in a way that they recognize that how much value it can add in their lives. There are different ways that individuals buy products. Some customers buy impulsively, and whereas some rationalize it and think about it. So we need to understand that how consumers behave in the market and what exactly do they need and what exactly they are looking for in a product or a service. So in this episode, we'll discuss the psychology of sales and how to scale up your business by using psychology of sales. So today's guest is Pjero. He is the Exceptionality Catalyst. He is the founder of Addict to Grow and a highly skilled sales and business growth coach. He partners with senior executives to achieve exceptional leadership results personally and professionally. Piero has spent almost 2 decades in varied leadership roles within multitude of industry sectors, including telecommunication, finance, human resources, recruitment, personal training, automobile, construction, real estate, and etc. A key area of Piero's specialty is psychology of sales within the sector. He knew if he was able to contribute to the psychological shifts required mindset wise, this would create an environment of cultural awareness and exceptionalism. So, let's welcome Piero. Hello, Piero.
Hey, hello,
Thank you so
Ambreen.
much
How
for
are you?
joining. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So, thank you so much for joining today. It's been a pleasure to have you here on the show.
It's exciting. I know that we've been speaking for now nearly 3 or 4 months. We've probably known each other, and it's good
Yeah.
to be in the same community that discuss uh, global empowerment.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's really good to know each other through that community. So, before we jump into the discussion, um, although I've given a little bit of introduction, but please tell us a little bit more about yourself, that how you came into this field, what struggles you faced. So, just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'll touch on it a little bit. Firstly, my name is Pjero Mardesic. My father's Croatian, my mother's Filipino. I'm fruit salad. My sister's pasta salad. I've been told that I wave my hands around like a Mediterranean, but really, what it comes down to is I'm just extremely passionate about the subjects that I believe I have conquered and championed. I have 3 little boys. I live in Australia, and I stand for exceptionality and exceptional leadership.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, that's brief, but the thing is, like, that how you actually came into this field. I mean, why particular this field? Why you chose to be in sales, and why particularly, like, you think that the area of expertise is yours, like sales psychology. So, if you can share a little bit more about that.
Okay, this is really an exciting part of my life. Sales psychology is one area that I like to delve into and talk about. I love teaching it, I love sharing the information with it, purely based on experience.
Yeah.
When I was 14 and 9 months, I started my sales career, I guess you could say, with McDonald's. And I was working for McDonald's purely because I wanted to buy my own. I wanted to buy my own things. I wanted to buy my own shoes. I wanted to buy my own sunglasses. And from that, my parents said, "Well, we're no longer going to give you money for it. You need to find a job, and you're 14 and 9 months, and let's find you a job." So I got a job at McDonald's, and I I remember that one of the key things that I was never afraid of asking was, would you like fries with that? These add-ons. I
Yeah.
believe that's something that comes up in regards with exceptional results in sales psychology and what I teach in my workshop, and that is resistance. Resistance to asking for the sale sometimes. So how I got into this area at the age of 14 and 9 months, I started with McDonald's, and through that, I've got 2 decades in various leadership roles within a multiple number, with a multiple range of industries. You mentioned it before: telecommunications, finance, human resources, recruitment, personal training, the automobile, the construction industry. Not only that, the coaching and the wellness space and well-being space, and now really delving into helping those willing and ready to live a life of exceptionality, to basically move from typicality to exceptionality. So that's what really got me into it, because I knew that I implemented a set of structures into sales, which helps me really delve into this space.
Yeah, wow. Like you have a very diverse sort of experience, like with lot of you have worked with lots of industries, and that definitely gives the richness to your experience and knowledge. So, tell us a little bit about that, how psychology can help the sales process. How do you do this? How do you merge these two together, sales
This
and
is a
psychology?
really This is a really great question. And obviously, when I think about business, I think about business is 80% psychology and 20% sales. And then when you think about like the return on investment from those sales, 20% of the effort actually brings us in 80% of the return. So when you actually break it down in a psychological way, it's like, what are we actually doing, providing, offering to the customer, so that there is a greater chance of closing the sale with less resistance. So what really got me focused on it was understanding 3 major fundamentals in exceptional results. So the program is called Exceptional Results, and there's a few, 1-day workshops, sales psychology follow-ups, and so on. But there's 3 fundamentals that we must have. And one of them is an exceptional customer experience. So think about this as a piece of a pie. And one of those pieces of pie out of 3 pieces is the exceptional customer experience. In other words, if you're going to start a business and you're going to go into some form of sales as part of that, doesn't matter if it's service or product, servicing or product, it's the experience that the client, that the customer is going to receive from us. Now, that's all psychology. There's no strategy at all behind that. There's
Yeah,
no strategy.
yeah,
It's all psychology. How you speak to them, the words that you use. Are you inviting? Like, yes, there's a formula, but the psychology behind it is so much greater. So when I was thinking about creating these programs, I put together what I knew best about how to provide a customer with what I thought was the best experience. And then through the research of all my years of being in sales, it was like, what did the customer want to experience from me? What did the customer want to experience when they walk in the door? The second part of the pie is the exceptional product knowledge. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a service or the product, you have to, I believe it's a must to have an exceptional product knowledge. In other words, know the feature, know the benefit, know the function, and also how that's going to implement, or how the customer can implement that into their life to be obviously the benefit. Then you've got the third part, which is the exceptional registration process. Now, everybody in sales has already what's it called? Like a process, a sales process, right? And part of the sales process is how you register the customer into your database with your company and so forth. And one of the things that I truly really enjoyed with a customer was building the rapport. And
Uh,
what I mean by that is the questioning or the probing of questions that a lot of businesses and sales people talk about it. Now, where this gets psychological, yes, this has strategy to it, but once again, 20% strategy, 80% psychology. And I believe that the psychological questions that we can delve into when we're coming from a heart-filled space, in other words, we want to know them, we want to get to know them. That's totally different. Resistance is a lack of rapport. So, in other words, to lessen the resistance is to build more rapport with the client, especially in the early stages. So, they would be, the three fundamentals that I always talk about in the context of how did I mix psychology with sales to empower businesses to, double, triple their sales in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you explained it so beautifully that there are like three fundamental parts. Like especially you said that psychology, and then the product knowledge, and the third one is, sorry, which one? Third one was the,
There's the registration process.
yeah, the
So how we
registration.
build rapport.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the like since being a psychologist, so I worked with also with several other fields, and I feel that whenever like there is involvement of human being, there we can apply psychology, because eventually everyone behaves through certain like human psyche. There's like always relationships involved, there are emotions involved, and when we understand them as a whole, not as a customer or client or prospect, but when we understand them as humans, we can actually help them better. It's not only about selling the product or selling the service, it's how much value we can add in their lives. So I think that's the main perspective. Everyone should focus rather than just selling the product. They need to think that how they can see the clients or customer or prospect in totality, right?
Very much so. And I'm glad that you mentioned um, relationships in there. We're building
Yeah,
relationships. We're
absolutely.
building connections to share experiences with the client, the customer, whilst they're there, and we're
Yeah,
fulfilling their needs before they leave, even
yeah,
by simple psychological questions. For example, what else can I share with you today whilst you're here that will fulfill your needs? Like
yeah,
even the way the question's developed, the customer will walk away going, "Oh, you just want to
yeah,
fulfill my needs and give me all the information I need." It's like, yes.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
what I loved about when you mentioned relationships, funny you should mention it because my other two programs is exceptional leadership and exceptional relationships. So when you think about business, I've got three of the major focus areas is exceptionality leadership, exceptionality in sales, which is exceptional results, and then exceptional relationships and how we feel at home can impact the way we feel at work. So the relationship connection at work between customer and salesperson or customer and business or business and business hugely impacts what's going on at home.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great to know actually that you added relationships in your program, because if I'm sure you know that the longest study conducted by Howard mentioned that like the study was conducted over the period of 80 years, and eventually when they found out that the one element of the happiness is the relationship. So it applies not only in personal life, it applies to business also. Whenever you create healthy relationship, your happiness flourish, your business flourish, and everything else will come in alignment. And at the end of the day, it's not all about money or success, it's all about the satisfaction and happiness. And I think that is again linked only with the relationships, not
Mhm.
like no matter how much sales you generate, but eventually if you have a very good relationship with the client where client is happy with you, of course they like business is all about the numbers and sales, but the thing is that how much relationship you have developed with the client where you can understand their need and then cater to the need accordingly, right?
There's such a huge difference between working in a sales environment to make money versus working in a sales environment to share experiences, connect with people, and make a long lasting, infinite, what's the word I'm looking for? A long lasting, infinite impact on that individual. Because when
Yeah,
you do that here, it lasts, it becomes
yeah,
sustainable. You become known that you'll treat that person, and then you can ask for referrals, they'll give you referrals, and then the
yeah,
sales process then just it
yeah.
doubles.
Yeah. So, what are the techniques do you use actually to sell the product according to the psychology? Like, for example, how do you use psychology in the sales process? Maybe you can just share a little bit of techniques. Like as you mentioned that you may change the wording of the question, you build the rapport, but what are the ways to develop like long lasting rapport, or maybe to break the ice even, like there are like a lot of people prefer cold calling, like contacting people randomly. So, how to break that ice and build a meaningful relationship?
Okay, so there's three techniques that I'll share with you. If you're cold calling or you're calling a follow up, one of the really simple psychological questions that I love to share with my clients, my organizations that I work with, and that is whether you're leaving a message or the person answers. The wording that I teach is, I've got an answer. I've got a question that only you can answer.
Okay.
So psychologically, right? So this is tip number one. I've got a
Yeah.
question that only you can answer.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, saying it that way, the person on the other end psychologically feels special,
Yeah.
and you're putting them in a position of power straight away because it's like, I've got a question that only
Yeah.
you can answer. So they're in the hot seat. You're giving them the, you're putting the ball in their
Yeah.
court,
Yeah.
but but realistically, the salesperson is in control of where it's going to go.
Yes.
So as a
Yes.
business, when you're hearing it from this point of view, it's a simple technique that empowers the customer, but the salesperson has the control of where the footpath goes, the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
The second thing would be, um, I like to call it daily training.
Okay.
I know that that sounds
Okay.
really simple, right?
Uh-huh.
But realistically, daily psychological training. In other words, mastery. Mastery is the continuous repetition of a subject.
Yeah.
Now, conquer is to conquer something that we thought was unachievable.
Yeah.
So to champion something is first of all to conquer the process. So the questioning, so the continuous discipline and the training, to conquer that, to achieve the unachievable, to get so used to it and then master it. In other words, to continuously repeat it. And then championing it is to continuously do that, conquering separate parts of yourself. And if I was to sum this up in one title, number two, would it be conquer the uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Simply put.
Yes.
Okay, the third one would be the psychological tool here. The third one, always remember that when the customer's coming in the door, they are giving you the opportunity, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So the pre-assumption that the customer coming to the front door, you already know that this is an opportunity for you, not the other way around. So they are at your service.
Yeah.
And we understand as salespeople that any conversation could lead to a sale, but building the rapport, the connection, the experience is so much more empowering. They would be the three tips.
Yeah. This is like awesome tips basically. It's how to develop the rapport, and especially the first part that you mentioned, that actually put the spotlight on them, make
Hmm.
them their like the uh, make them realize that they are the one important one, and they are the one who
Hmm.
are actually making the decision actually. Although we
Hmm.
know that we are actually the sales team or the person who will be driving their decision, but actually I usually often call this, and it's very much applicable everywhere, the illusion of choice.
Yes.
When we actually think that we are in the position of taking a choice, and that's the
Mm.
biggest illusion. But we need to realize that we are not in the position of
Mm.
making a choice. Only then we realize. Anyways, that's the separate topic about this. More philosophical, actually. Very much I like my interest. But anyways, but your the first point is very much relate to that. And the other thing that I really like about your program is like these 3 points. Like you're very focused on that. That what to do and how to go about it. And it's the very important part that you mentioned is like mastery. It's most of the people jump into action before actually practicing, and then they fail, and then they say that, oh my god, what happened, and then they leave or give up too soon. I think
Mm.
that is how they need to realize that, okay, there will be failures, but important part is to practice
Mm.
and focus. That's very important. So,
There's
yeah,
Go ahead. There's something that you mentioned there about mastery, and that
yeah,
is, I'm just going to share one. I love this one when it comes to mastery. Mindset mastery is in my
yeah,
leadership in the Exceptionality Leadership Program. Well, there's three things that I want to share about mindset mastery because it's such a broad subject, right? A lot of people are just like, oh, I love mindset, and it's like, yeah, but mindset is this big. Mindset is broad.
yeah,
So I like to hone in on it this way. And if you're listening in the audience, here's another three tips for you. Number one, you've got to understand your limiting beliefs so that you can
yeah,
rewire the circuitry. You must
yeah,
understand your habits, your behaviors, so that you can understand your limiting beliefs around sales. Full stop. Don't worry about the sales psychology part yet. It's all about sales. What are your limiting beliefs around sales? Because what happens next is you need to understand the inner critic and how to master that.
yeah,
Because our inner critic is the one that pops up, that inner voice that says, I
yeah,
can't sell. I'm no good at this. I
yeah,
can't do this again another day. I didn't sell yesterday. I'm not worthy here. The customer didn't
yeah,
listen to me. The customer bought elsewhere. This is all the inner critic. We need to know how to master that. And the
yes,
next one is when selling or becoming a salesperson that becomes really a person of service, is we really need to be aware of the costs of tolerating what we tolerate from ourselves.
yes.
It's
Okay,
like
yeah, that's
we
yeah,
need to become aware of that inner critic. And it's like if we're tolerating that language in here,
yeah,
how is that coming across? And then we
yeah.
can also then question ourselves as to how does that come across to the customer. So I'm glad that you brought up mindset mastery, Umbreen.
Yeah, that's very true. So, of course, it's all about, again, it's in our mind that when we believe that we can do it, then definitely we will do it. Maybe like sooner or later. It's not that's gonna happen overnight. We need to work again and again to reach to the level where we want to go. So, as like you also mentioned, that sometimes it's not working as, or it's not giving us the result as we want,
Mhm.
and we do fail. And of course, there's the mindset involved. So, how to tackle this, especially or I would say that how to scale up the business, especially in the times when sales are not coming. So, how to survive that. I mean, you mentioned that there will be a critic and there will be like mindset
Yep.
that we need to think,
Hmm.
but again, it's not that easy. So maybe you can share some tips on that,
Okay.
how to have to achieve that mindset, growth mindset, especially in the
Okay.
times when the person is failing and there lesser leads uh, when the
Mhm.
person is like creating very less leads. So what would be
Okay.
that? Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to reiterate the last three because I think that that's the same answer. But now what I'm going to do is I guess I'm going to add to it in regards with how to.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that these are the fundamentals. These are the basic fundamentals. So why are you even in the role?
Oh, okay.
Number one, why are you even there?
Mm.
Remember that your basic skills of communication and training and practice and discipline far outweigh any other part of the steps in the process.
Mm.
So understanding where your limiting beliefs are, because there, I believe that there's no lack of leads out there.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
no lack of leads. There's no lack of
Uh-huh.
leads.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
you're faced with a belief system, a limiting belief system, you're not going to make the sales. Now, that may feel like it landed like a cup of hot soup, but I want you to think about that. There are no lack of leads out there. And when we come back to the fundamentals and we go, where are my limiting beliefs? How can I understand my limiting beliefs and rewire my own circuitry so that I can make the phone call without the limiting belief, without then the next part, which is understanding your inner self critic,
Yeah.
because that's all that's getting in the way. There's no lack of leads.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm going to share something from Tony Robbins. He said it the best. There's no such thing as unresourceful people. There's unresourceful states.
Yes. Very
Simple,
profound.
right? So obviously the last one, once again, it's like being aware of the costs of what we're tolerating and what we tolerate. And if we truly don't understand that, we're not looking at ourselves deep enough. And that's not to say that there's something wrong with you, but that's to say that, well, then what are you tolerating? And are you aware that that toleration is getting in the way of you focusing on the fundamentals and then looking for the leads in the right state?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely, very right. Because it's all in our mind. Again, it's like
Mhm.
how we see the world. It becomes the reality. This is all like if I would say that, as the Einsteins also say, like everything is relative. In the theory of relativity, like the way we see it, it's our perspective. If we think there is no leads, and if this, and then it's going to happen again, it all adds up to the law of attraction and everything. So it's all in our mind. We need to think positively. We need to have this mindset, growth mindset, to generate more leads. uh, I think I lost you. uh, uh, I guess he's there's some connectivity issue. So, anyways, like Piero has so far shared very insightful tips that how we can generate more leads, how we can apply psychology in sales, and it's as you mentioned that it's basically about all that how we react to the situation rather than just take it as a circumstance and then we say, oh my god, what happened. It's not like that. So anyways, I think we lost you in between.
I think there was a little delay. It said a delay
Yeah,
on my
okay.
side.
Okay. So, anyways, maybe you can share a little, maybe share your example that in a certain circumstance that you faced with the challenge and then you generate the lead. So that's how our audience can relate and understand better.
Okay. When I said earlier that sales or business is 80% psychology, 20% strategy,
Yeah.
July 2013, email reads competition time,
Yeah.
win a trip to Japan. Now, I've, I've got this right here, so I'm going to share it, right?
Okay,
I've
that's
been I've been looking at this, right? But this is literally right here. Okay, so 2013, July, the email reads, competition time, win a trip to Japan. Immediately, blood started rushing inside me, and I was so excited. I'm just like, oh, what can I win? Part of me is very competitive, but I wanted to understand what it was. So I read the email. I wanted to understand, and all I remember was win the chance to visit the Nissan Vehicle Museum.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
in the Nissan Museum in Japan, has one of every Nissan ever made. And
Okay.
The Nissan GTR is my favorite
Yeah.
car.
Okay.
All of a sudden, without hesitation, I went straight to my boss. I ran straight to my boss, and I'm just like, did you see the email? You're going to win? Of course, I'm going to win. Immediately, I said to myself, there is no way I'm going to miss out on
Oh,
that. The desire was
yeah.
already boiling inside of me. I
Mhm.
could smell it, I could feel it, I could hear it. I started Googling Japan, everything about it.
Yeah.
I just felt it inside me.
Mhm.
August, so July, August,
Yeah.
September, the trip was in October.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to have all the sales figures in
Mhm.
August, second month. Now, I was the only salesperson at the time. So I was the sales manager and the salesperson at the same time in Nissan here in New South Wales. I was in what they call category C, which is it was the third category, category C. And then all of a sudden I got sick for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then fear took over
Yeah.
because I wasn't at work for 2 weeks to make the sales. But what I did is I had access to my emails. So I
Okay.
stayed in contact via people via email.
Mhm.
I still closed deals by ringing my boss and talking to him in the meantime while I was still at home recovering. I still made the effort to get onto my emails.
Yeah.
There were days when I had to rest.
Okay.
September came, all the
Mhm.
sales figures went through for September 31st. We waited for
Okay.
the email to come through in October,
Mhm.
and I won.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
there's
That's
the ticket. There's the ticket
okay. Mhm.
to Japan in October
Mhm.
2014. So
Wow.
it was 1 year later we got the
Mhm.
trip. And why I'm bringing that up is the psychology part of the
Yeah.
challenge. I had to live it, breathe it, feel it to want it bad enough.
Mhm.
And there's this thing that I talk about, and it's like, do you want it, or are you committed? Are
Yes.
you willing to walk the talk, or do you just talk the talk? I believe
Yes.
that everyone can walk the talk.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
difference is understanding to be committed versus just wanting it.
Yes, yes. I mean, I can totally relate to it. It's actually the desire that is the main part, actually. And that desire connects you to the purpose. And then I think in my as you know, like I'm also writing a book, and that's what exactly I try to say in my book, that basically the purpose, when you realize the purpose gravitates you toward your success. I mean, that's how it is, and that's how the magic happens. And the main ingredient of this magic is your desire, your willingness to go extra mile for your dream. So you said it, and you give so beautifully, and it's so great that we are actually on the same lines. So I know that the topic is really, really interesting, and we can go on and on, but I'm afraid that we are reaching to the end of the show. So if anyone from the audience want to ask anything, please feel free to share in the comment. And in the meanwhile, I'll ask you that what one advice would you give to our audience today um, to excel in the sales process by using psychology?
conquer the uncomfortable,
Okay. Yeah.
and champion your exceptionality.
Yeah.
So before, when I spoke about the mindset mastery,
Mhm.
those three areas, understanding your limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
understanding the inner critic and how to quieten that voice, how to master it, understanding your limiting beliefs so that you can rewire the circuitry,
Yeah.
and then the last one, understanding that you are truly becoming aware of what you currently tolerate. When you shift those three things, you are able then to conquer the uncomfortable,
Mhm.
to champion your exceptionality.
Yes, I think actually I really like this term conquer the uncomfortable because that is the part when everybody's afraid of because when they are uncomfortable with any situation, they tend to withdraw from that situation.
Mhm.
And that is what you're saying here that we need to actually go to that uncomfortable and only then we can conquer it. So thank you so much for sharing all the wisdom and your knowledge and your experience. I'm sure our audience have learned a lot from you, and it was a wonderful discussion. And anyone who's listening to the show, and if they want to have to get the services from Piero, please reach out to his LinkedIn account, and so he can help you out with that. And thank you, Piero, for joining today. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. And so
Thank you, Eileen.
everyone, bye bye, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.